What's up, world? TalonTyphoon here, back again after a long while, bringing you a brand new segment to the channel called Nintendo Moving Forward. Now, if you are not familiar, Nintendo is a video game console that originally came out in July 15th of 1983 with the Nintendo Entertainment System when they first walked out onto the market. Over the years, they've made a very strong performance in the handheld console market and have been making home consoles as well. Now, in the future, moving forward, they still continue to plan on using the Nintendo Switch, which is their current gen console that they're using, which was still a member of the last generation consoles with Microsoft's Xbox One and Sony's PlayStation 4. Now, what we can see is that if we look at Nintendo's competitors currently on the market, we can see that it is currently Microsoft with their current generation Xbox Series X and Sony's current generation of the PlayStation 5 as their current competitors to the market. Seeing as they're still new to the market, they still haven't caught up on sales to what the Nintendo Switch is, which is now why they're currently the #1 selling console on the market, seeing as Nintendo is been around for so long. Now, PlayStation does look like it is going to be catching up in the future though, so they will still have to heavily compete against them to maintain market superiority, seeing as in the last generation they ended up having to have the Nintendo 3DS as a side console along with the Switch to outnumber PlayStation in sales. However, if you looked at just the Nintendo Switch sales, they were actually second to the PlayStation and then ahead of the actual Xbox One. Now, if we look at how Nintendo has set themselves apart from their competition, if we look at Sony and Xbox, we can actually see what they've done is they've put a heavy focus on the graphical performance and fidelity of their actual video games that are being put out on their consoles. However, and this is just one method that can be done, Nintendo has decided to step away from that route and decided to go with a more cartoonish look to their IPs in their actual portfolio. However, with their current titles being performed, they are not only going to be timeless, but they'll be able to continue on building remakes as they move forward. The Nintendo Switch, even though it is still relatively newish to the market, originally came out March 3rd, 2017, so it has seen about 3 years so far out on the market, moving on to its 4th now, which it still looks like it actually has quite a bit of long life to its life cycle. Now, there were some problems when the Nintendo Switch first actually launched. When they first came out, there weren't very many launch titles to the actual system, which made it very difficult for them to actually make a breakout, seeing as all they had was Zelda Breath of the Wild and then 1-2 Switch, which was just a small little party game that can utilize the actual tricks of the Nintendo Switch Joy-Con controllers. Another big problem that Nintendo has faced over the years, now that they've been out for quite some time now, is the big problem of the Nintendo Joy-Con drift, which the Joy-Cons are the controllers that come with the actual console and utilize motion controls and sensors to actually determine its position, which is the replacement to what the Wii was doing with the sensor bar with the controller where you can point around to it. Now, the Nintendo Switch Joy-Cons are the new version of that. However, they still have a problem where when you're playing, they'll actually start drifting when you're moving forward to the left or right. I know I've still had this problem quite some time. However, I'm using the Pro controller now to try and avoid that moving forward, and it does pretty well. However, Nintendo has seen some lawsuits over that, and they have settled out of court to do that, and still to this day they still haven't actually done anything production wise on actually making that change. However, with the Nintendo Switch Pro controllers out, it's not that big of a deal in my eyes at least, and I know moving forward, even if they still continue to have that problem, it wouldn't stop me from buying a Nintendo Switch. Now, if we look at the games that actually are affected by the Nintendo Drift Switch Joy-Con drift problem, you can primarily see this in Splatoon 2 when you're trying to just run and try and shoot in any direction. It'll try and move left or right even though you're trying to hold it steady forward. And if you're in Zelda aiming, or even Mario Kart trying to turn, it'll start to want to drift on you. If we look at the current console wars, with the Nintendo Switch now being out for 3 years and Sony and Xbox bringing their new generation consoles out to the market, the Nintendo Switch is very behind now, technologically speaking, to their competitors. However, they have set themselves up to where it's not really too big of a deal that they're not competing technologically, performance-wise, for graphics, seeing as Nintendo doesn't actually focus on those particular things. For instance, if we look at one of their biggest IPs of Pokemon, we can see that over the years they've maintained overall lower quality graphics and then a rich storyline basis that can actually grab the audience and actually bring them in, which is wonderful because it just keeps building and building as the years go on, and it doesn't look like it's stopping anytime soon. If you look at their other IPs like Zelda or even Metroid, both of those have a very long-standing relationship with the community for the Nintendo console holders, and will continue to be moving forward. Even Zelda plans to release a new game moving forward. Now, Nintendo does not actually plan on releasing a next generation console to actually compete with Microsoft and Sony's new current generation models. However, they do plan on releasing a new variant of the Nintendo Switch for the collectors. If you are a fan of Monster Hunters, or if you're a fan of Mario, you'll be able to add that to your collection soon, coming the holidays of 2021. However, right now you can't get them now. If we actually try to look forward in what Nintendo is probably trying to do here, we can see that they're probably going to wait another 3 years-ish before they even think about releasing their next generation console, because the Nintendo Switch still has quite a bit of life left to it and moving forward with what they've currently been working on. They still have quite a few games that haven't been released, such as Metroid, which still needs to come out, and they still need to be releasing a few more games as well moving forward if they want to fully release their IP. Now, if this video has helped you today in understanding where Nintendo is and where it's possibly going to be moving into the future, make sure you like this video, guys, and subscribe if you have not already. And today's question of the day is, where do you think Nintendo is going to be going moving forward? Do you think they're going to end up just still releasing different variant consoles, or do you think they're going to actually start making the next generation console where it can compete with 4K like Nintendo and Xbox? But that is all from me today, guys. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time.